Don't let it get you down just because you have to cook again today, even though you've cooked yesterday and the day before and the day before that. You've always been cooking. In fact, you cannot remember a time where you were not cooking.
I'm hungry. Toasters, honey, and butter. I'm hungry.
I think you probably know this if you've been a parent longer than, well, 2 minutes, that it doesn't matter that your children ate like 5 minutes ago and that you fed them fully. They are going to see the refrigerator and say, I should look in there. And they expect, even though they ate a good meal last night, they expect to have breakfast the next day. The nerve. In my life as a mother, I think one of the most daunting things has been the fact that I have to make meals day after day after day after day. I mean, when will it ever stop? That being said, I'm gonna go over a long list of breakfast ideas. Sometimes you have recipes that you've done a long time and they're tried and true and your kids have liked them in the past. However, they get old and then suddenly your children stop eating them. Just a simple repackage of some of these ideas helps infuse life to the recipe and then suddenly your children want to eat it again. Let's take first my favorite French toast. What I love about French toast, it is very simple and very fast to make as long as you already have the bread, and it's just eggs and milk and a little cinnamon. I try to make extra as much as I can because the thing about French toast is it preserves very well for a couple days in the fridge, and then take it out the next day, pop it in the toaster, and then put butter and syrup or whatever you like on your French toast. But what I love to have in my fridge is handy snacks that even if it's not for a meal, it's just for a snack, I can say, grab a French toast and stick it in the toaster. My goal as a mom with the foods my kids are consuming is to eliminate as much of the sugar that's in the food as possible. And if we have to add syrup to our plain yogurt, that's fine. At least we know the amount we're putting in, and it's not just tons of extra sugar for your kids. So we do plain yogurt and syrup and frozen blueberries. That's a staple. We love that for breakfast. It's so easy. We also love granola and milk. Of course, who doesn't? Now, I started making my own granola. Funny thing, because I use less sugar than the granola that is store-bought, my children don't like it as well. So an easy way to incorporate your product with the product that you purchase is first blend it a 50-50 until you can easily transition to the homemade version. The fun thing with some of these foods is you can put all kinds of nuts or seeds or dried fruit in your granola, and it makes a super wholesome breakfast. So yogurt and granola, that's also one that we love. Oatmeal, well, everyone knows about oatmeal. Kids get tired of it. I mean, it's not something that they want to eat day after day after day. Now, I love oatmeal. It's like a comfort food. If you haven't tried steel cut oats, I love this version. It does take a little bit more planning, a little bit more time to cook, but it's also super easy. Big bag of frozen blueberries from Costco or from whatever place you buy them at, and those go in with some raisins and cinnamon, and also we use maple syrup or honey, and that is just delicious. Toast with butter. Perhaps one of the easiest and best loved foods to have in the morning, especially in this household. However, it's very carb heavy, and so ideas for that is to add peanut butter on it, cream cheese, or our favorite is avocado. It seems like toast is something my kids never get tired of. Fruit, of course, is a very easy way to start out the morning, and I like to cut stuff up, put it all on their plates with some frozen blueberries. Now, I'm a big fan of a frittata. I think it is a great way to get a good amount of nutrients in your kids, and it is so versatile. You can just put a ton of different things in there. However, my children are not thrilled. A quiche or a frittata, it's just, there's something about it that just speaks blah to them. So my favorite is to make the same exact recipe and then cook it in muffin tins. Put a little extra cheese on the top, and it comes out and it's exciting. Not only that, it's not bad cold. I will stick those little muffins in a bag in the fridge and they can pull them out the next morning and eat them. If you're a sauce boss, you can find something to dip those babies in. I love that you can put just easily anything in with this egg mixture. I just grate some zucchini because then it cooks easily. Some onions, garlic if you like it, spinach is great. If you have some bacon, awesome. Just don't forget the salt and pepper and cheese, because cheese makes everything better. Pancakes. Now, we all know and love pancakes. I always put extra eggs in my pancakes. Well, at least I did before eggs were astronomical and very hard to get. But we underestimate the power of the different sized pancakes. We usually do a certain amount of pancakes on the griddle, right? Am I right? I do the same size every time because why? 8 pancakes fits easily on the griddle. But if you want to shake it up, you want some new pizzazz to the food that you are trying to get your kids to eat without complaint, make them different sizes. One day have the tiny silver dollar pancakes. One day have giant, big as your face pancakes. I've talked in a different video about waffles, and I love to include some savory elements in the waffles. You just stick it right in there. I'm gonna link the video there. An egg hash is one of our favorites. Sometimes we do it for dinner, and then whatever leftover is, I will stick in and do another egg hash or stick it all into burritos. I just feel like as moms, we have to be flexible with our recipes. If you have leftover sloppy joes or any heavy ground beef dish, that ground beef goes great in just regular scrambled eggs. If you make your own bread dough, there is so much you can do without changing your recipe. But instead of using olive oil, I'm gonna put coconut oil down on it and just massage it, and then I'm gonna put blueberries, poke them all in, and then lavishly sprinkle a cinnamon sugar spice on top. I am really fond of Dutch babies, and most of my kids are too. The reason I love Dutch babies is there's just a lot of eggs, so it's a great protein dense food, and yet it's delicious and everybody likes it. I have one child who has a real gag reflex towards eggs if they're just eggs by themselves. Scrambled, over easy, any type of egg. But if I put a lot of eggs in, well, say cake, of course he likes it. Dutch Babies has a very low amount of sugar and high protein. It is a great breakfast. We put a little maple syrup, or if you have some all fruit jam, that is delicious. Honey or just by itself. So what I did today to spruce it up was I used my muffin tin, and they make like little popovers. Super fun, easy to store in the fridge and easy to grab out, and everyone gets one for breakfast. Cold, delicious. One of the fun parts of Dutch Babies is you put the butter and melt it, and then you pour the batter into your 9x11 Pyrex or whatever, and then it really puffs up beautifully, but you have that buttery taste on the bottom. So I'm putting a little cube of butter in each of these muffin tins, and then I'm pouring the batter on top after the butter is melted. And I have to tell you, these were a huge hit. So if you want something a little fancier, I tried these Monte Cristos. Now, this is just taking the rough idea of a Monte Cristo and using whatever I have in the fridge. You know I'm fond of that. I had some salami and some pepperoni in the freezer, and I just pulled that out, and then of course Swiss cheese, which is so delicious. I put some mustard because if you're using salami, mustard is really good. If I was using some leftover shredded chicken, I would probably use barbecue sauce. And then you make a regular French toast batter. I'm only using 3 eggs so that the batter isn't very deep, and I can just rest the sandwich right there in the batter and then transfer it onto some melted butter. And you're just toasting each side and then toasting the sides to kind of seal them a little bit. Obviously this takes a little bit more time, but it is a real crowd pleaser either morning, noon, or night. And while I had my muffin tin out, I also just cracked some eggs in the muffin tin, sprinkled it with salt and pepper, and then cooked them as is. And those are a really fun thing to just pop out and eat cold. Okay, how do I want this week of breakfasts to look? Breakfast. This week of breakfast to look. I do make my own homemade bread and have for a year. And now I'm brave enough to just venture out with my dough and try new things. Like you can easily use the same dough that you would make your sourdough bread and make donut holes. We've made bagels before. Those are a little bit more time intensive, and you do use a different dough for that. You can make twists, and if these things aren't very sweet, they dip to perfection. You know, it's okay to venture out with your recipes, to try new things, because what's the worst thing that can happen when you try something that is just a little bit weird? Well, maybe your kids don't like it and your husband has to eat it. I hope some of these ideas helped you. Sometimes I just want a long list of ideas running through my head, or better yet, on paper. Thank you for joining me, and happy cooking, and keep up the good work. Remember, no one can mom your kids like you. I'll see you next time.